Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Carol here from Oak House Journals. I just wanted to do a very quick video share with you today of something that I did this morning. I am just getting to the final finishing touches of a mini trifold journal, and I wanted to include in it one of these vintage Kodak slides. Now these are just some vintage slides that I bought off a gentleman on eBay. I picked them up for a really good price. They are in immaculate condition. They are all roughly the same. They're all this plastic card mounted. There are a couple that have got a slightly different front to them, but basically they're just card slides. Now, for those of you that are a bit anxious about any damage that's done to old or vintage or antique bits and bobs, please look away now, because there will be some damage done to these. Whilst these were in excellent condition, and I have quite a few, they are all botanical themed, and there were a lot of duplications, and some of the slides are not particularly good, so I wouldn't even include them in a botanical journal, quite honestly. But they have all been lovingly looked after, and the gentleman who obviously had these was seriously into his plants and his photography, because he made notes on the back of most of them, showing or naming what was on the slide. So given that these were all botanical themed, that some were duplications and some were not particularly good pictures, I chose a few out of here that I could perhaps alter. And as I say, these were all botanical themed, and the journal I'm just finishing is a bird themed one, so clearly I didn't want to put a floral slide inside a bird themed journal. So the bottom line is, what I did was I made these, and as you can see, they've turned out quite well. So this is, I think, some sort of little thrush, and then there's this one which is a finch, and then anybody who knows Ranger Tim Holtz paper packs will recognise this image. It's of a robin. I think it comes from his correspondence or postal paper pack, but I can't remember. And I just created an image of that and popped it in one of the slides. Now here are the actual images that I used. As you can see, this one I'd actually chopped up and made into a little tag to go in a journal, and these are just two little images that I fussy cut from this book here, which is, if I can get it, let me just lift the camera a little bit for you, that might be a bit better. Excuse me. This is a great little book if you want to do a bird themed journal, certainly for the smaller books. Lots and lots of detailed images in here. The images are all different sizes, so if you don't want to use a whole page but wanted to do some fussy cutting, then lots of different size images that you can scale to whatever you want. And all I did was I chose a couple of images from here that would fit obviously into the slide aperture, and fussy cut them out. And as you can see, there's my two images for the slide. And then all I did was, let's move those to one side, and I will bring this in. All I did was I printed them out onto vellum. Now this vellum is 150 GSM vellum. It's I just get it off Amazon. I really like using it for my pockets because it's quite sturdy but not overly thick, and it's also it's a nice weight, nice feel to it. It fulfills a multitude of uses. that I need to use it for. So that was my choice, 150 gram vellum. And all I did was I popped it in the tray in my inkjet printer and printed it out. If I use a finer GSM vellum in my printer, then it saturates the vellum, and the ink saturates the vellum rather, and it tends to warp. And as much as I have tried ironing it, it never comes back to its original pristine condition. So I find with this 150 GSM vellum, it works perfectly. I don't have to do anything special in terms of trying to feed it through my inkjet printer, and it doesn't warp, as you can see. So all I did was I put my 3 little images on the flatbed of my printer, scanned it and printed it out onto the vellum. And then here what I've got are 3 of the slides, and as you can see, this is one that I've split, and that's what it looks like when you split it open. And there, as you can see, is the bit of film that went inside this one. And this one was just one in amongst the group of slides that I had. Let me just move that to one side. Excuse me. And it's plastic. Now, if you get one of these, it doesn't look horrible, the fact that it's plastic. It's very, very fine, and actually I hadn't even realized this one was different from all the others, other than it was colored slightly differently, but it is plastic. Now if you get one of these are brilliant because they just have a lip on the back that you can get a craft knife underneath and just flip it up, and inside obviously is your little bit of slide. You can slot your piece of vellum inside and just clip it down. So these are really handy. They're not as nice, I don't think, to look at in a journal, but you know, if you have these, brilliant. When you open them up, and I'm just going to get my craft knife, when you open these up, however careful you are, you will get residue like this inside. And all I did with mine was I just very, very carefully got my craft knife under the tape that they've obviously used to close these, and I just started to clear it off and peel it off inside. You don't really have to go to this much trouble. I think you can get away with not doing that, but I just wanted mine to sit nicely when I put my vellum inside. So as you can see, it is a bit fiddly, but easy enough to do. There we go. This one's going to come off easier. So I just did that to clean up the inside of my slides. Also, just to show you, when you get the slides, oh, I'm off camera. I hope you managed to see all of that in terms of clearing that up, cleaning up that inside of that slide up. Sorry, I should have checked there. When you get your slides, I'm not sure if one of the edges, this one, has got what looks like a little perforated edge. Now they've obviously folded the slide casing along that edge because it's slightly different from the other edges. As you can see, there's like a little sandwich inside. So all I did with my craft knife, and be very careful here, in the immortal words of Nick the Booksmith, I am not your mum, but a word of warning, be careful, take your time doing this. I happen to know that this is an old craft knife of mine. It's not particularly sharp, but it does the trick. I need some new blades, but during the lockdown it's a little bit difficult for me to get any other than on Amazon. So I happen to know that this isn't a particularly sharp knife, but it does the trick. So if yours is super sharp, just be careful of your fingers, because you know it is better if you have them all when you're crafting, as we all know. So okay, what I did was I put the tip of my craft knife in the top and just very, very gently started slicing my way along it. Now, I've already started this one. Now, I would recommend you don't do it at this top edge where, as I said, it looks like they folded the slide casing over. I would recommend that you start at one of the corners rather than in the middle of the other three sides. The reason being is you can just get a little nick there to start you going, and just ease your way gently along your slide until you can eventually get to the point where your knife pokes through to where your slide is. And then you can gently start easing your way with the knife all the way round, like I'm doing now. Now obviously I've pre-cut this one, but if you just take your time, here I haven't, and as you can see I'm having to work at it a little bit. Just take your time, wash those fingers please. You don't want any blood, any mess on your slide. And as you can see, I'm just having to work gently at cutting this slide. Now if your knife is sharper, then you will probably do this a lot easier than I am managing to do it at the moment with my rather blunt knife, but we're getting there. And just gently ease it round almost through, and just coming to this end here. There we go, and we're through. And then when you open your slide up, you have this arrangement inside. The inside piece of film should just come away quite nicely, so don't worry about that. And then, as I say, you have these edges of tape that also will just clean up really nicely. As I say, look, just peels away very easily. So all I did then was, very simple project this. I'm just going to use this one because it's let's see, no, I think I could probably get away with using this one actually. So all I did then was I chose which image I wanted to use. So I'm going to use here, I'm just going to refresh my computer screen. There we go, so I can see what I'm doing and hopefully stay in frame for you. Is that any better? There we go. So a couple of bits on there. Let's just retract that, get it out of the way, keep safe and sound. So all I did then was I just placed my frame, slide frame, over the picture that I printed on vellum, got a pencil, drew around it. Really simple project this. And then I cut it out, and I cut it out just slightly inside of the line I had just drawn. Put that to one side. Just fractionally inside, and then when you marry up your slide again, okay, just need to snip off a little bit more. You don't have to worry about rounding off your corners, because if you've noticed, these slides have rounded off corners. Now that's not an issue if you want to use a corner cruncher and just crunch your corners, or you could do it with your scissors as I'm doing here. Either way is easy enough, but you just want to make sure that your vellum just sits inside your slide like so. And then all I did was I grabbed my glue. Actually I was going to use 3-in-1 glue there, but I think In fact, I'm sure. Before, what I used was my art glitter glue, and again, just being careful not to go too close to the inside aperture, I just put a little bit of glue all the way around, and in fact I try to avoid, wherever possible, going close to that inside edge, like so. Line up my slide. Whoops-a-daisy. I'm working on this felt mat because I thought it would be better for you. We have a bit of sunshine here in the UK today, and I have a glass mat, and it was the sunlight was bouncing off the mat, and I was a bit anxious about it causing some glare for you, so I put down this felt mat, but it's not actually the best for working on, partly because it holds all the bits and I'll be picking those off for ages, but also it's a little bit spongy. So that's it glued into place on one side, and then on again, just going round again using your art glitter glue. And if you have art glitter glue with one of these fine tip nozzles, these are absolutely ideal for fiddly little projects like this. So I'm just putting my pin on the top. Check which way your slide wants to be. Just marry it up using your fingers to gauge where the edges need to be, and press it down. Now, what I did do with the previous ones that I made was I went round cleaning up the inside of my slides really well before I glued them down. It doesn't seem to make that much difference, but as you can see here, I have this a little bit of what looks like feathering at the top there. So all I'm going to do is just clip that off with my scissors. Now if I'd cleaned up the inside of the slide better, or as I did with the previous ones, obviously I wouldn't have that. Now there's our slide, and I'm going to put this book down and use this book to get a little bit more of a harder surface to work on, a little bit of pressure, just to make sure that that's down completely. And there you are. I'm going to move that out of the way now so you can see a bit better. So there you are, there's the slide. So I'm really pleased at how these worked out. It means now that I can do slides of all sorts of kinds. I'm not restricted to using just these botanical ones that I got off eBay. Obviously the good ones here I will use in my botanical journals, but it just means that now I have the option that I can put flowers, butterflies inside. I can, I'm just looking for the other slide that has the Ranger image in, but I can't find it. So it just means that I can put butterflies inside these, I can put fairies inside, I can do anything. So the world's your oyster now. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much everyone for bearing with me, and please, if you have any of these old vintage slides, have a go. Thanks so much everybody, take care, bye bye now.